That's my guitar solo transition. What's going on? Hi guys. Hi. How are you doing? I'm Jon, and this is Jon Does on the Wild Dinosaur channel. And it's the Wild Dinosaur channel because that is my artist moniker. Been using that for, I don't know, 15, 20 years. I have to look back. I don't know when my Wild Dinosaur anniversary is. Anyways, welcome to my show. WildDinosaur.com is my website. There's all kinds of cool stuff there. There's music, links to my music and music videos. There's also a merch store where you can get cool stuff. I got these tote bags. That one's upside down. Here we go. This is one of them. They're polyester tote bags. They're really durable, and these handles are awesome. You can get different color handles. There's like red, yellow, and black, I believe. I have t-shirts, sweatshirts, socks, stickers, the usual, the good stuff. So go find a design you like, pick up a shirt, take a picture of you wearing the shirt, send it to me. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see my children out in the wild, because I'm a wild dinosaur. I'm in captivity, but I'm wild at heart. So what's up? Oh man, what is up? Whew. There were some shows that I watched that I'll talk about the second half of the episode. After the commercial break, we will talk about Harley Quinn, episode 9, and She-Hulk. Let you know right now, I liked one, and I did not like the other. This is just episode by episode basis, not a breakdown of the full seasons. You'll get those when they end. Yeah, if you wanna take a guess which one I liked and which one I did not like, feel free to take a guess. I think you know. I think you'll know. I think you'll figure it out. I liked this week's episode of Sex and the City. I'm just saying. I had a better segue to the first segment that I want to talk about, but I can't remember really what. Oh, yeah. No, now I remember what it was. Forget that I said anything about a segue. Just forget it completely. I have been keeping an eye on my YouTube stuffs. Not the algorithm stuffs, but the analytics. And I gotta say, pretty happy. Things are going well. Really getting that watch time in, which is good. Forget it. Somewhere I think this week needs to process these episodes, but I'm probably somewhere in the, I don't know, 150 minutes, or not minutes, hours watched, which I know for some people is like, well, what's the deal? It's not a lot. Yeah, it's a lot for me. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody watching, continuing to watch, rewatching, sharing so other people watch. Those things are great. I appreciate all of that, and I appreciate everybody being here, and I just like seeing how the analytics are going. And yesterday I was saying I'd like to get to 50 subscribers because I had 39. I have 42 today. 42 is a good number if you're a Douglas Adams fan like I am. 42 is pretty important. Also, your towel. Ouch. Little pain here. I don't know what's going on. yeah, so I've been watching my ratings, and I've been happy that people are enjoying the episodes. I'd still like to grow the channel more, but I'm really glad that that I'm building this little community here of people that care about what I have to say and want to join in on the conversation. I think that's cool. I think that's really cool. Ouch. I don't know what is going on. Just this like sharp pain. It's not. Ow. Ow. You know what I need? I need a sip of my favorite drink. It's my favorite non-caffeinated soda. Squirt. I love Squirt. Favorite caffeinated soda is probably just Coke. But I'm cutting back on the Coke a bit. I went through a bunch of dental stuff last year. It was one of those situations where I was finally able to take care of things that I hadn't been able to take care of before. And so, you know, just to not, I don't drink coffee. You know, my dad had said when I was little, oh, you'll learn to love it. Well, I actually like have really terrible reactions to coffee. Quick story. I did landscaping for a while when I lived in the Bay Area, and there were some wealthy people that lived up in the hills, the Oakland Hills, whose houses we worked at. And there was a wealthy client who, for the holidays, would give us gifts. Just like, you know, we're just landscapers. We didn't expect anything, but what was it? I think it was Christmas. The lady had left us bags of it was like a nice little you know, Christmas bag with some candies in it. But what I didn't know was that there was chocolate covered like espresso bean, and I ate half of one on my drive home from work that day. And by the time I got home, I was shaking in cold sweats. And I can tell you it was not the chocolate. I ate half of one of these. I didn't even eat a full espresso bean. I ate half one. I eat chocolate all the time. That was not the problem. But, excuse me. Falling apart all of a sudden. I've only had 2 cups of coffee, I think, in my life. Once was when I was younger and working on I was on on the reservation. I think I was on the reservation, and which is something I can talk about some other time if you're interested. And I had to wake up at like 4 a.m. to do a bunch of work. I think I was working in the kitchen, and I was like prepping food that morning. Which later on I ended up working at 4 a.m. like regularly at my job, my first TV job. But I was not used to 4 a.m. so I had a cup of coffee then, and it I remember it not like affecting me terribly, but like I did have a weird day that day. Felt like all the blood had rushed from my head, you know. Anywho, caffeine, I usually take in like soda format, but I've been cutting back because the dental stuff. That was a long story. That was a long, pointless story. Just letting you know that I'm trying to save my teeth. Kids, if you're listening, brush your teeth at least twice a day, and floss with your hair. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. You can if you want. I dated somebody that did that. All right. So first actual story, instead of me just mumbling about dental stuff and breaking out into cold sweats, eating a espresso bean. I have a story to read you from Variety, and I thought this was interesting because we don't usually get a lot of information about this kind of stuff in general from streaming services, but Netflix has released some numbers. Let me get the graphic up here. This is a Variety article by Brianna Bell. Nielsen streaming top 10. Sandman overthrows Stranger Things at number 1. Uncharted jumps to number 2. Stranger Things has been dethroned from Netflix. There's so many things that start with the letter N in this. Stranger Things has been dethroned from Nielsen's number 1 spot. There we go. During the August 8th through August 14th viewing window, Netflix's The Sandman was the show to finally overthrow Stranger Things, racking up 1.4 billion with a B, that's a billion, minutes watched. After Uncharted took 5th place in 3 days of availability on Netflix last week. The Tom Holland-led film was viewed for 1.2 billion minutes in its first full week. Stranger Things was bumped to number 3 on the charts with 1.1 billion minutes watched, ending a nearly 3-month run at number 1 with a brief intermission at number 2 after the debut of The Umbrella Academy Season 3. Another Netflix project nabbed the number 4 spot, Day Shift, which stars Jamie Foxx as a modern-day vampire hunter. The movie first launched on August 12th, drawing 982 million viewing minutes in its first 3 days of availability. There we go. Disney's Lightyear saw a dramatic drop in viewership minutes during its second week on the platform, after coming in 3rd place the previous week with 1.3 billion minutes watched. The film sank to the bottom of the overall top 10, recording 170. I keep saying 100. 700 million viewership minutes. On the movie chart, Lightyear ranked 3rd. Elsewhere on the charts was Virgin River, 934 million, Lock and Key, 919 million, Bluey, 917 million, NCIS, 764 million, and Cocomelon with 702 million. And then there's a chart here that I should have screen grabbed, but I did not. And it's the top 10. There's a couple of charts here. There's 4, and I'll read the charts out for you. Top 10 streaming programs. Almost all of these are Netflix except for Disney. There's 2 of them from Disney. All the rest are Netflix. Number 1 is Sandman. Number 2 is Uncharted, then Stranger Things and Day Shift, Virgin River, Lock and Key, then Disney Plus's Bluey, back to Netflix, NCIS, Cocomelon, and then Lightyear rounds that out. Top 10 streaming original programs. Number 1 is Sandman. Number 2 is Stranger Things, Virgin River, Lock and Key, I Just Killed My Dad, Never Have I Ever, Only Murderers in the Building, that's on Hulu, A League of Their Own on Prime Video, Amazon Prime, and Instant Dream Home and Trainwreck, Woodstock 99, which I should watch that. Top 10 streaming acquired programs. Disney Plus's Bluey, Netflix, NCIS, Cocomelon, Grey's Anatomy, Riverdale, and Gilmore Girls. HBO Max, Game of Thrones, Big Bang Theory. Back to Netflix, Seinfeld, and Heartland. And finally, the top 10 streaming movies on Netflix, Uncharted and Day Shift, Disney Plus Lightyear, Hulu, Prey, Netflix, Purple Hearts, Amazon Prime, 13 Lives, Netflix, Sing 2, The Gray Man, Wedding Season, and Flight. I think these are interesting numbers because we don't often get to hear what the companies themselves have to say about their program. You're pretty tight-lipped about what's going on, but we can tell by viewership minutes. Sandman, I was a fan of Sandman. I think it's good. I'm not, as I've talked about before, didn't read the source material. It's something I should have. There's a lot of things I should have done in my life that I just didn't. Reading Sandman is one of them. The show, however, I did watch, and I loved it. I thought it was really good. It started off a bit slow, but I started getting into some really, really interesting like one-off episodes that I loved, and then I was sucked into just the characters, and there's a story arc there towards I mean, it's there, but I think it takes a little bit to build too. So yeah, we don't usually get to see these kinds of things. So Sandman's kicking ass, and I think that means I hope that means that it gets a second season. I know Neil Gaiman has been pretty vocal on Twitter about a lot of things. I did see him talking about how it needed to do really, really well for Netflix to renew it for a second season. And I'm hoping these numbers are evidence of that, because I definitely want to see more. I don't know what they're going to do. I've heard that who makes the Uncharted movies? Yeah, who produced this? I don't remember. I'm sure Sony. Where's the IMDb? There it is. Sorry, I need to know, because I've heard that Uncharted, regardless of how this first one did, is full steam ahead with because this is a comic, or not comic, but this is a video game franchise, really popular one, which I haven't played, but I do have the Thieves pack that I bought for my PS5 that I haven't played yet. I can't find who produced or what companies produced Uncharted. This is annoying because it's important. Sorry, I'm just getting what company? Columbia. Okay, Columbia Pictures. Are they under not Warner? Okay, Columbia is Sony. So, Sony's really invested. I think they do want their own franchise. And I think Uncharted is going to be one of them. I hope it gets better. I did like the first one, the movie. I watched it when I was on one of the streaming, probably HBO, I think. Wait, no. I definitely watched it on Netflix. I'm a dummy. Pardon me. This is a real fun episode for audio listeners, huh? It's a lot of dead air than me burping. Standard. I apologize. So Uncharted, they'll probably be doing more. I don't know what the plan is. I wonder if Netflix makes a deal with Columbia, or if they already have one regarding once it's out of theaters, they have a Netflix deal where it goes straight to Netflix or something. I don't know. Netflix definitely needs the IP, and I don't know where. I just don't think Sony has a plans for streaming? Maybe. I honestly, I don't know. That's something I should look up. I'm not going to do it right now. I don't want to waste your time. But yeah, I mean, look, I like Stranger Things. It's clearly like doing well still, even though we all talk about, well, not all of us, but some of us talk about the fact that Netflix does the binge dump. And I do personally think that hurts properties. Netflix has a series of shows that they've put out, I'm sure, that could have benefited from the week by week release. Stranger Things is very good. It's very good. Dropped off for a little bit there, season 2 and 3, but I think they're, back to being really good. And it takes a big known, well made property to get the kind of longevity that I think Stranger Things has for Netflix. But I think doing more week by week releases would probably help some of the lesser known properties, new shows they want to launch, Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on here. And I mean, what was it? Sandman had how many total? 1.4 billion. 1.4 billion views. Sorry, not views. Minutes watched. So I think this is good news for Sandman. I think this is interesting in the conversation of getting information about streaming stuff. There was nothing on here from like the Marvel stuff or Star Wars or anything like that. This is mostly Netflix. And a couple other things thrown in there. Like, I don't see The Boys on here, or, The Boys is becoming a popular one for Amazon. And, I mean, Game of Thrones ended up on this streaming acquired programs. But, I think House of the Dragon's really popular, and would really like to know HBO and Disney Plus's numbers on things, just to see how things are going, what's working for them, and how are they maintaining budgets. Well, I know that Disney Plus is about to raise their prices, I think, pretty soon, or that was talked about a couple months ago, I think. So that will benefit them, but just because all the Disney Plus stuff is now factored into like phase 5 and 6 of Marvel, so it's easier to judge a box office because numbers are released like that weekend. It's the opening weekend, how well it does, and then over the course of a handful of weeks before it hits DVD. But anyways, that was the Netflix numbers. It's probably boring for a lot of people, but it's really interesting because we don't usually get this kind of information, like I said before. All right, let's do. I have another story, but I'm gonna save it because it's kind of weird and kind of long, and it's regarding a band that I like. I think we'll talk about this later. Yeah, I think we'll talk about that later. All right. Well, let's do a commercial break, and then I'll jump into episode 9 of Harley Quinn and episode 4 of She-Hulk. So I will see you guys in just a minute. Don't judge a book by its cover. Judge it by its weak-ass spine.
I'm Richard from Richard's Pet Wedding Facilities, and I give these stickers away at every pet wedding. The kids love them too.
This bag from, what's his name? Wild Dinosaur? Weren't they all wild? What an oxymoron. Anyways, I like to put my special things in this bag. Plus, I'm pretty sure this is my spirit animal.
Life gave me lemons, so I sold them for this sweet baseball tee. All right. Don't forget to check out whatdinosaur.com. It's the best place to get all cool stuff. You know, I always like mention there's t-shirts and stuff there. There's those baseball style tees too. There's a 15-second commercial that I made. I try not to overdo my commercial breaks, but yeah, cool baseball style shirts. It's a little warm here. I have a bunch of them, but I'm just not wearing them because it's a little warm. But yeah, so let's see. Let's do Harley Quinn first. I want to talk about Harley Quinn first. All right. So this was episode 9. And how many episodes are we looking at here? Whoops. I think there's 13. Yeah, I think there's 13 episodes per season. This was 9, and let's see what IMDb says. 10. Okay, so I think we're going to get 10 episodes this season. It was renewed for a 4th season, so we are getting a 4th season. Yeah, season 2 had 13. And season 1 also has 13. So yeah, I guess season 3 has 10. And basically this whole season is Harley and Poison Ivy are in a relationship now. And I really like their dynamic. You know, there's been a couple of things in the DC universe that I've really enjoyed, and they add a little bit of LGBTQ angle to it. This one's really good. I really like the Harley and Ivy couple. But there was another one, and not the best property, but the show Gotham. I watched that. I was still under the curse. You know, I talk about the curse. I was just cursed. I couldn't not watch all of the superhero stuff, even if it was really bad. I just had to. Yeah, I watched like all of Gotham, and it was bad. It's not all bad, but one of the best things about it was they made really interesting back and forth with the Penguin and the Riddler. And they were both in love with each other at various points, and I don't know. I thought that was maybe the best part of that series. The villains really did become the best part of that show. And it's kind of the same thing with the Harley Quinn show, but the Harley Quinn show is an adult animated series, you know, and it's definitely like a lot of comedy. It's very funny. And they play with just so many characters. They play with like whoever they want, really. Like, you know, sometimes DC will say like, you can't use this character or this character because we're going to use them in a movie. It's like, no, this is like a really crazy like Justice League animated series, but if it was, you know, instead of Batman and Superman, it's like Harley and her various relationships, and they use everybody at times. Like, it's been a minute. I don't remember if they used Aquaman or whatever, but I mean, Batman's a big part of this season. actually, this was a big part of this episode. The name of this episode is called Climax at Jazz Pajizza. Climax at Jazz Pajizza. That's the name of this episode. They go to, there's a jazz festival happening in the background of this whole episode. But it's basically Bruce Wayne has one of Ivy's best friends. It's a talking plant named Frank, because they're gonna use Frank's powers to resurrect Bruce Wayne's parents, which is already weird. Bruce Wayne, by the way, is voiced by Diedrich Bader. From, he was in the Drew Carey Show. He was Rex Kwon-Do in Napoleon Dynamite, which I'm about to rewatch that here pretty soon, which I haven't watched that movie since it was popular back in was it 2007 or 8 or something, I think, when that movie came out. I don't remember. It's been a while. But I'm actually probably going to do an episode about that, because out of the movies that those directors have made, Napoleon hasn't been my favorite one. It was when it came out. But I really like another lesser known movie called Gentlemen Broncos, and I should maybe do an episode on those movies. All right, so Harley and Ivy this whole season are dealing with relationship issues, basically. They're both, well, not both, but one of them is wildly independent, while the other one has like serious codependency relationship issues. That being Harley. I mean, her whole character arc really revolved around the Joker. And they've used this show to really separate her and make her more of an individual character than just like Joker's girlfriend that, people used to refer to her as for a long time. But she's become really popular. And I think it's cool. This show does cool things to, like, again, make her own character. And one of the things I like about the Ivy and Harley relationship is that it's very not the crazy unhealthy codependency that like she was with. She was obsessed and like just devoted to the Joker. And with this story arc we've been seeing, like, this is true love. You just see like two people who genuinely love each other, and they're also working through some of their own issues independent individuals too. So but then of course there's like King Shark and Bane and Batman, and yeah, so there's a Bruce Wayne in this episode accidentally causes a zombie apocalypse, and it takes basically everybody to not stop Batman, because it's not like Batman's gone off the hinges and is like it's not even Batman. It's little boy Bruce Wayne. It's like adult man who hasn't dealt with his loss over 30 years. Just being like, oh, I want my parents back. I can make my parents come back. And then they do, and then Ivy realizes that whatever has happened, she can make, like, her plans of taking over Gotham can actually be achieved through these means. But of course, someone's got to be a hero, and Harley talks Ivy into realizing that she's actually hurting innocent people, and becomes this whole thing. And it's really cool to see, again, going back to their relationship is actually, to me, like the heart of the series now. They're both very dysfunctional people, and learning to communicate through their dysfunction. It's, for as dumb of a show as it can be, it's really smart and heartfelt at times, even though it's brutal. Like, there's blood, sex, drugs, rock and roll, all of it in this show. But yeah, it's really good. It's really good. I liked this episode a lot. And ooh, sorry, my stomach's starting to hurt. Oops. Yeah, so Harley Quinn, I don't know if you guys are watching it or not. I recommend it. I think it's a great show. And episode 9 was pretty fun. There was something I was going to mention yesterday when I was talking about, or was it 2 days ago when I was watching, when I was talking about What We Do in the Shadows. And I was going to say, there's something I'll mention later, and I didn't mention it later. And what it was actually kind of pertains to Harley Quinn too. Both What We Do in the Shadows and Harley Quinn are really good shows, or are shows that I watch on a weekly basis. Getting back to the whole doing a week by week thing, I appreciate that a lot. But for some reason, What We Do in the Shadows and Harley Quinn, I just keep forgetting about. I use my, okay, so this is my problem. I have an Apple TV, and I use my Apple TV as my main thing. But I also have a Roku TV, and the TV, the remote here, I'll show you, has a couple of buttons. There's a Netflix, there's a Disney Plus, there's a Hulu, and a Sling. I don't have Sling, I don't think. But I do use Netflix, Disney, and Hulu. And so Netflix and Hulu I use through the Roku TV. I could download them on my Apple TV. I just haven't because I'm dumb, I guess. But I don't get the if you have an Apple TV, you'd probably know this. There's a what's new section or watch now section, and if you have apps attached to it, like that's where I have my HBO and Disney Plus and Amazon. I get updates on there's a new Lord of the Rings episode or a new House of the Dragon or whatever. For some reason I wasn't getting the Harley Quinn ones, even though I watched the whole series and it was marked down as something I enjoyed. And What We Do in the Shadows is on Hulu, which I use on the Roku TV. So I didn't get updates for when those new episodes dropped on Hulu. And so I would go a week or two without remembering that What We Do in the Shadows had been on. And then I'd watch 2 or 3 episodes in a row, which is why I haven't been doing regular episode updates for this show. Harley Quinn, there's only 1 or 2 episodes left. So I'll definitely do stuff with those. And What We Do in the Shadows is now over for the season. So yeah, I mean, all we have now. There's a ton of stuff stuff I'm not even remembering off the top of my head. But there's Lord of the Rings, which is already going on, which is tomorrow, by the way. We'll probably talk more Lord of the Rings tomorrow. On top of D23 that's happening, starting tomorrow. It's Saturday and Sunday, which don't forget, I'm going to be doing a live stream on Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific time to follow up the D23 news that comes out. So you're getting an extra episode of Jon Does this week. And, yeah. So, House of the Dragon on Sunday, which is usually a Monday show thing that we'll talk about. She-Hulk I'll continue to talk about. I mean, you'll hear my thoughts on that shortly. And then Andor, when that starts, definitely talk about Andor. Next week we'll be doing a Rogue One rewatch, and break some of that down. But yeah, anyways, Harley Quinn episode 9, really enjoyed it. I like Harley Quinn quite a bit, and I think I like it a lot better than this show. I don't think they're doing a ton of bad stuff, but I just don't think this show is, for me. And that being said, so far, episode 4 is my absolute least favorite episode. This was just dumb. I did not care for this episode much at all. Starting off strong here. She-Hulk, let's see, what do I have in my notes? This episode, it goes back to the Wong stuff, which, okay, now Wong is understanding that you have to pay attention to the legal process in America, but also not tackling the fact that he committed crimes in the previous episode, and they even called him out for it, and he just bounces yeah, I mean, I think they're trying to get I think the demographic is our age women, 20, let's say 18 to 35-year-old women. I think that's what this show is kind of geared towards. And I think some of the situational humor in it definitely goes to show that a lot of it is a lot of the little moments are them sitting down at a table at a bar, and then a bunch of douchey guys come in and hit on them. And I totally understand. These are situations I have never had to deal with. I just don't. Leaving that stuff aside, the situational humor stuff, there's just nothing really here for me. Even Marvel wise, in the comic book elements, I heard people complaining about oh, she twerks with Megan Thee Stallion in the tag, that post credit scene of the episode 3, and people were all pissed about that. That doesn't bother me. That doesn't bother me as much. I've seen some She-Hulk comics from the past, and she does some weird stuff like that, and I think the twerking with Megan Thee Stallion falls in line with the character. I just don't like the humor that they're going for. I think their humor is just very mediocre, and I passed out watching Love and Thunder because that also dropped on Disney Plus, the new Thor movie, and I just didn't really care. I don't know. The humor is. It was hard for me to see it happen in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and now I feel like this is just what Marvel's comedy is like. Jason says, I could care less about that. Let's get some good character development. Make me actually want to care about her. Yeah, I think the best part of the show is Tatiana Maslany, who plays She-Hulk. She is just acting through nothing. I hate being too tough on things. Oh, this isn't just, I really don't like making statements that are this is just bad and it sucks and I don't like it. I'm trying to verbalize why I don't like it. And I think the biggest thing is that this is not made for my demographic, first and foremost. But the other thing too is that I really am not digging the Marvel humor. I think Wong is a great example. Wong from Doctor Strange was a very straight. He was the straight man kind of to Doctor Strange, and I mean straight man in like the Odd Couple. There's the the goofy guy, and then there's the straight man. That's what they refer to that kind of character. And Wong is kind of the straight man, and then they would use like subtle hints that like humanize him a little bit. In the first Doctor Strange movie, there's like a Beyonce joke, and then a couple scenes later, he's listening to a Beyonce song while he's like studying in the library or whatever. And that's cool. And the things that they're doing are not out of the line or out of character so much. They're just like not good. Let's see. What did I have written down here? Yeah, okay. So the basis of this episode was Wong is trying to sue somebody who is using magic, and it's illegal. It's basically a legal case of like, this guy does fake magic, I do real magic, which is already a very on the nose joke to use for Doctor Strange characters. I don't know. I'm gonna do something you're not gonna see me do. So it's the episode without twerking with okay story. No, I didn't like the story in this episode at all. Last episode was okay. But then I think that they're just kind of shitting on stuff that they've, I don't know. Again, Wong, I think, is the prime example of a character that I think was built up well over a couple of movies, seeing him in like post-credit scenes and in Endgame and stuff like that. I think he's a cool character, but now they're just like, I was trying to work to it, but I think I'll talk about it now. The post-credit scene in this episode is probably one of the worst that I've ever seen. Cobra Kai drops at 3. I haven't watched Cobra Kai. I've not really ever been the biggest Karate Kid fan. But I've heard so many things about it. I might have to jump in. And I'm going into it knowing that it actually did start as a YouTube series, not like a Netflix series. So I will go into it with that state of mind, I guess. But yeah, so there's a character that comes up in this episode of She-Hulk. Her name is Madison. She is just a random kind of drunk girl. She's kind of funny. I've known a lot of people like this character. I've known so many people like this character. She's just really annoying. They try to play it for laughs, but I just didn't connect with that character. I didn't think she was. Yeah, I just didn't think she was very funny. And then they go back to a joke, something about watching Gilmore Girls or something like that. This is literally the post-credit scene. And it's just them sitting there and her asking Wong all of the alcoholic beverages he likes. It's like when a director lets the actors go off on like a joke for a while. They're like, let's just film this joke or this thing and we'll probably cut it. That's what this felt like, was just like extra part of a scene that should have been cut, and it didn't feel like a good end credit tag. It wasn't. I think I was even more let down by the fact that like what feels like the main story arc with what's her name, Titania, hasn't even really kicked in yet, and we're kind of waiting for more of that. So she gets sued. Jen Walters gets sued by Titania for the use of the name She-Hulk or whatever. And she looks at the camera. I do like the fourth wall break stuff. I think it works pretty well for me. But she looks at the camera and says, well, this is a pretty bad way or pretty downer point to end the episode. I hope the end tag's good. And then we go to credits and then the end tag. And the end tag is garbage. It's not good. And it made the episode worse. And it made that line even harder for me to give a shit about this episode. She's random, obnoxious, very sober, and annoying. Sounds right. Yeah, totally sober. If she hadn't had a drink, she's probably had a couple of Xanny bars. It just like, this just did not work for me at all. I felt like I had this moment. I've been telling you guys, I've been trying to finish up Horizon Forbidden West, and I had this moment where I was like, oh, She-Hulk's almost on. I should probably stop. And I was like, maybe I could just wait and watch it a little bit later, or even tomorrow morning. It's like, no, just quit and you know, watch the show, go to bed, wake up, and then maybe play some Forbidden West in the morning, which I did. But yeah, I should have just kept playing. Writing, it is just bad writing. Yeah. I do think there is a fair amount of it too that, like, yeah, it is writing, but also, like, what were they going for originally? I think we'll eventually obviously know more once more of the season happens. There's big things supposedly coming. Daredevil we saw in a trailer, and I'm sure there's more cameos. I think they did say that each episode is going to have some sort of cameo, which now we've had Wong in 2 episodes, which, if I see Wong again in anything, I need to see Wong like kind of redeem himself from the kind of shit that they've had him do. I'll rewatch it here pretty soon. But Love and Thunder, I thought he wasn't done very dirty in that. But when he's popped up in She-Hulk, I feel like he is. What is it? Okay, I had read this theory that this makes sense to me. Thor Ragnarok is a different shift in tone because Thor Ragnarok is being told by Thor. Thor is the narrator of Ragnarok, which is why things are a lot funnier and less bleak. And it's just like a dude who's gone through like so much pain and loss, and he's just like working to like survive and get through. I've got the overheat signal going on. That I feel like I feel like Wong in these last 2 episodes was that, like, a caricature of himself, but almost like he's narrated by someone else's perspective that like doesn't respect the character, you know. Not to say that Wong can't be funny. I just don't like the humor that's been written. And yeah, I don't know. I really don't dislike Tatiana Maslany as She-Hulk. I think she's doing a really good job. I do think the writing is not for me at best. I think we need to be careful with Marvel needs to be a little bit more careful of putting out too much stuff like this. I think we all have a little bit of willingness to accept some shit because Marvel has delivered so much for us in the past. Like really good stuff that a lot of us have really enjoyed. But I don't want to see more She-Hulk series. If this is what we're gonna like be getting from stuff, I just make less series and more movies, or I don't know, or just write better series. Jason, you're one of the people that's like over Marvel. You don't. There's so much of it to get through, and I don't blame you at all for that. I think there is a lot of stuff. I'm starting to feel like I'm cursed again with Marvel to a degree. Disney needs to stop relying on IP and actually write good stories. Yes and no. Do I want to see more good, well-written stories? I hope everything I watch is a well-written story. I think relying on IP can be beneficial because Marvel has 60 years of stories, like thousands and thousands of stories for all of their characters. And I think they can benefit by leaning into some of that. But again, to do their Marvel thing, like Winter Soldier and Civil War are really good movies, but those aren't the source material. They're just they carry the same title as source material, but they aren't, like, it's not an adaptation. It's a new take on those titles. And I think reusing some of their stuff is a good in that way is a good way to go. But, you know, some things are hits and misses, and She-Hulk is shaping up to be more of a miss for me. What I mean is IP can't carry the story. Yeah, exactly. Like, again, to use Winter Soldier as an example, for a long time that was like my favorite Marvel movie. And they used the title Winter Soldier, which, you know, is close. They do similar things to what happens in the comics, but to fit into the universe that's being presented, the Marvel Cinematic Universe with, you know, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man and Chris Evans as Captain America, they had to adjust a bit. And you use the characters, you use the core elements of those characters to create your conflict, and then you fit them into the world around them. And I feel like She-Hulk and even Thor Love and Thunder to a degree, they weren't fitting into the world. They were creating their own new ones. That's how it feels to me. That's how this comedy, the Marvel comedy, is feeling to me. Is it's not just necessarily fitting into... Again, this is my perspective. She-Hulk, you know, like a lot of the stuff, situational stuff they're using is stuff I don't experience because I'm a white man. I'm not a female, you know, and there are things that don't work because there's things that I don't deal with. But it also does not feel like it is as cohesive with everything else. I wonder if that's something we just have to let go of, because Marvel, like Star Wars, is going to be making stuff till the day I die and then some. I just... more directors are going to be taking on roles, you know, like Winter Soldier, Civil War, and Infinity War and Endgame feel similar because it's the same crew making all of those. It's the Russo brothers that made all of those. Not everything's going to feel like those movies, and they shouldn't. I mean, would I like to see the Russo brothers tackle Secret War? Yes. But we also have to understand that they might not want to do that. And there are a lot of other really talented directors. And to make these things, it's not going to be as cohesive anymore. The biggest piece of cohesion is Kevin Feige, just, you know, making the plans of where everything goes, and then just hiring out everybody else to make it. So, yeah, I don't know. That's my thoughts on She-Hulk. I did not like this episode at all. It is just a fart fest. It's a fart fest. That's what I'll say. You know what? I haven't done this in a minute. I'll do a smelly pit rating. Let's go. How many smelly pits? And if you're new to this, smelly pit ratings is my rating system. Whoops, that's not what I'm trying to do. There's a cat in here. Smelly pits. 5 smelly pits is good. That means I like it a lot. 1 to 0 smelly pits means get out of here with this. So how many smelly pits am I going to give this episode? Am I going to give it a 5 or a 1 or a 4 or a 2 or maybe a 3? I think we're going to go with third. Or 3/4. I'll give it 3/4 of a smelly pit. I do still think there's room for this show to be good. I just did not think this individual episode was very good. And I would like to start seeing more narrative. I really hope this doesn't become a week-by-week procedural. There's 9 episodes for this whole season, so I really don't want to see this be like a week-by-week procedural. I'm cool if they use elements of it. And hey, I could maybe pretend this episode was like just a one-off filler episode. Rebels has done that, Clone Wars has done that, where they've really good story arcs and then just like 1 or 2 episodes where you're like, I just don't care about this. So we'll see. We will see how the rest of the season goes. I'm gonna keep you posted on how I feel about the rest of the episodes as they come. All right. Well, that's it. That's all I got for today. Tomorrow we will talk about, Lord of the Rings, because there will be a new episode tonight, if it's not out already. What else is there? D23 starts tomorrow, so we might have some news in the morning. There's a cat stalking me. Hey, you. Yeah, there's D23. No. Don't come over here. D23 and Lord of the Rings and some other stuff. Maybe I'll read this other story that I had saved for today. This was kind of a backup story in case I didn't have too much to talk about, but it is interesting, and it involves my favorite band, the Mars Volta, and it involves Scientology and the poisoning of dogs. It sounds terrible, and it kind of is. I mean, it is a terrible story, but it's fascinating all the same. So maybe I'll start with that story tomorrow and then get into news and Lord of the Rings. All right. Well, don't forget to check out wilddinosaur.com. It's the best place to support my channel. I make art, and so I have music videos and links to my music up there. There's also a merch store where you can get cool stuff, t-shirts, stickers, sweatshirts, socks, tote bags, all kinds of rad stuff, and all of the designs I made. So, and if you buy anything, take a picture and send it to me. I'd love to like repost it and share it. And the last thing that I like to do is there's a link in the description to donate to Planned Parenthood, because I think it's super important. There's a huge war on rights and healthcare. I mean, healthcare. This country doesn't really have healthcare. And regardless of gender, Planned Parenthood does quite a lot of great things for men and women, family planning and reproductive health. So please consider donating to Planned Parenthood. It's greatly appreciated, and I'm sure the women in your life would appreciate it. Yeah. So with that, I'm gonna go. I hope you all have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow, Friday. Tomorrow's Friday. I'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Peace.